Hello, welcome to my channel, In-Flight Music. My name is Ian, and today I want to present to you another free MIDI pack that will help you out with your dark trap chord progressions. Some of you have already seen my trap chord progressions video, and I'll go ahead and link that down below in case you haven't. Definitely check that out because I go over a lot of extra tips and tricks that actually led to a lot of the techniques that I use to make these chord progressions. So right here in the playlist, I have laid out a bunch of different dark chord progressions for you. And again, if you've seen my previous trap chord progressions video, then you'll recognize these progressions because these are the exact same progressions that I used in that video. But now I'm finally releasing these out to the public, so all of you will be able to use these chord progressions. I also released a lush chords video last week, and that also included a free lush chords MIDI kit. I'll also link that video down below. Some people were asking if these free kits were royalty free and if they were allowed to use these in their beats. Yes, 100%. That's what these are for. These are 100% royalty free. You don't even have to give me credit. All of these you could use in your beats and do whatever you want with them without worrying about a thing. But for this kit, not only did I include all of these different chord progressions, I also included this MIDI right here, which is really important for you. It's basically all of the dark chords to help you come up with your own progressions, but I totally understand if you'd like the progressions as is, or if you're just starting out and you want to use them exactly as they came. I feel like that helps you guys learn as well, so I'm not trying to hold you guys back in any way. Another question that I got is what key these progressions are in, and everything that I do that I give out is either in G major or E minor. And the thing about that is both of those keys are the exact same notes. Don't let the names of G major or E minor confuse you. But for the sake of this video, all of these are technically in E minor, except for the harmonic minor. But there's a little trick with harmonic minor that I want to show you as well. So the first thing that I actually want to cover is this MIDI right here that says all chords. And basically, these are all of the dark chords that I use in my trap music. There's no guesswork here for you. Now again, if you're into like trap soul and R&B, you could check out my lush chords video because that gets into creating other chords other than triads. But in terms of triads and also in terms of just traditional trap music, you're usually only using 3-note chords. And this is literally every 3-note chord that I use in trap music. And you might be asking, well, what if I don't want to play it in E minor or I want to switch up the key? Well, you get every single key just by moving this up. So if I hold shift and up, that's a new key, that's a new key, that's a new key, so on and so forth, or going down. Each one of those is a new key. So basically what you could do is just play this MIDI through and just listen to where you want to pitch this. And then that's where you would start your beat. Almost every time I start a beat, it's with the chords. And then I make my melody after that, and then I add in my bass line or my drums. Just keep in mind that this isn't an actual progression. It's just literally every single chord laid out. So yeah, you'll definitely notice that every single one of those chords are dark. Really quick before we get into the next part of the video, if you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, please show your support by liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell so you stay up to date when I release more videos just like this one. Thanks for your support. So let me explain the different sections of this. So this includes your basic triads. This also includes harmonic minor. It also includes all of the inversions of both your basic triads in minor and your inversions of harmonic minor. If you don't know what an inversion is, all it is taking a basic triad and you're taking the top notes and moving it down an octave, or taking the bottom notes and moving them up an octave. and you get a variation of those chords. So that's what all of these are right here. These are just inversions of these first two sets of chords. This first set of chords right here, this is your basic minor. So these are all of the E minor dark chords. And I also went ahead and took the liberty of taking out the dissonant chord that would cause you issues. The one chord that sounds nasty in the scale. So that's eliminated for you already. And I've also eliminated any chords that will all of a sudden make your beat sound happy. So basically I've eliminated the major chords that don't work in dark chord progressions. And that's not to say you can't make a major chord work. It just depends on your progression. But if you're just looking to make dark trap, if you stick to these chords, you're not ever going to go wrong. This section right here, this is harmonic minor. The trick that I mentioned earlier about harmonic minor, there's a couple different ways of creating harmonic minor, but the trick that I show everyone, if you just take the root note or the tonic of your minor, so for instance, this is E minor, and you just drop the tonic down by one note, which is what we've done here, you're actually playing a harmonic minor scale. And the really cool thing about doing it in that way, you're going to be able to blend between this version of harmonic minor with this version of your minor. You could still use the same melodies, you could still use these minor chords, and you can combine them with these harmonic minor chords. So always keep that in mind. Whenever you're in a minor scale, if you just drop down the tonic by one note, you're actually creating the harmonic minor vibe that a lot of people look for when they're making trap music. That's a quick little trick to get additional chords that will make your music more interesting. And then this section right here is just an inversion of your basic minor chords. All we did was just take the top notes and move them down an octave. As you can see there, these are the top notes right here. And then I did the same thing for harmonic minor for these notes. We took the top notes and then moved them down an octave. And then right here, we did another inversion by moving all of the bottom notes to the top of the chord. And the way that I did that, I actually just moved all the top two notes down an octave, which is the same thing. And again, you can move this up an octave all together, down an octave, all of it's still making the same chords. So, and last but not least, we just did the same thing with the harmonic minor. We took the top two chords, or we took the top two notes of harmonic minor and moved them down an octave to make our last inversion. What I've also done in this pattern right here, it's all of the dark minor chords. So this just leaves out all of the harmonic minor chords, and it just has the dark minor chords and the different inversions. And then right here I have all the harmonic minor chords with all of its inversions. So you could work strictly in harmonic minor or strictly in minor, or you can combine them both. So to give an example, I'm just going to go ahead and shift all of this over, and let me go ahead and change my snap settings to bar. I'm going to highlight the chord and hold shift and drag. That way these chords still remain there in case we want to go back and reuse any of these chords. So if I'm starting with this chord, another tip that I would say that will help you guys out is to try to find notes that bridge off of one of the notes from the chord before. Another trick you could use before you drag them over, just audition the chords right here. And once you have your snap settings on, every time you click, it'll go straight to a new chord. So you don't have to worry about missing a chord there. So what I would do is listen to the chord progression that you have so far. And I could hear that it wants to go down, or I want it to go down. So I'm going to look for one of these harmonic minor chords. That sounds good. And then you could just loop that if you wanted to. And now with my ear, I'm hearing that I actually want to I want to keep this ending, but I want to change this ending chord right here. And let's go for this one, I think. So that's just a quick way that you can make basic chord progressions, and just to give you ideas to start out. I have all of these different examples on how to manipulate whatever you come up with to make it sound even better. So right here, I have these all labeled out. In the MIDI pack, they're all labeled these names right here, like basic dark progression. So with this basic dark progression, what we have is literally what we basically just created, just a new chord, one bar at a time. What I've also done, I've included this basic melody in the MIDI pack. That way you could listen to these different chord examples and this MIDI melody, and that just gives you a better feel for what potential these style of chords can have in your music. So again, that was just a basic dark chord progression with a new chord, one bar at a time. And you can see all we're doing is just flipping back and forth between the two same chords over and over again. So you don't have to use a variety of different chords every time you move into a new bar. Keep in mind that you can reuse any of those chords that you've previously used in the progression, which actually happens a lot in trap. So keep that in mind. This one is giving you an example of alternating the lengths of the chords. So instead of just having the full chord playing out for the entire bar, we have the chord chopped in half for a bar, and then we bring in a new chord. So here, this is an example of basically playing the chords in legato, letting them blend into each other instead of having these little gaps in between each chord. You'll notice that there's a different feel. This one we're playing even more with the note lengths. We have even more variation. We have full bar chords, we have quarter bar chords, we have half bar chords. I feel like that's a really good example of how adding different chord lengths can really make your chord progression sound just a little more musical. And here is an example of creating one 4-bar chord progression, and then in the second set of 4 bars, we have another chord progression. And here we're utilizing the chords that I laid out for harmonic minor. These chords right here. And here I have an example of a major chord progression. I just thought that I would throw that in so that you guys could really hear the difference between dark chords and what would happen if you played major chords instead. It just sounds more upbeat, definitely a lot less mellow and a lot less dark. That's why I don't use major chords when I'm trying to make a dark trap beat. But like I said earlier, that doesn't mean that you can't make it work. So right here, I have harmonic minor with some major chords. So that harmonic minor really has this ability to make your overall progression sound really dark. So that's really the power of harmonic minor and why I recommend it so much. And here I have some lush chords that are sticking with the whole dark chord feel. So here for these lush dark chords, I'm basically taking two chords, combining them, and then I'm dropping out some of the notes in the chords. Sometimes I'm just playing the same chord in two different octaves. I definitely recommend rearranging, changing these up any way that you can, chopping them up, and so on and so forth. That way you get a nice little variety of progressions compared to what I just gave you. But yeah, these are just basic ideas to get you started with dark chords. That should definitely be enough to get you started with just making dark trap. I think the last thing that I would want to point out to you is really pay attention to these patterns. This is basically how I taught myself piano, because I noticed that everything's in patterns. So all of these dark chords right here, these are your basic minor chords. You'll notice that it's using E over and over and over again. So whenever you're in a minor scale, like for instance, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, so on and so forth, really use that tonic note to base your chords off of. And then you'll see that all we're doing to make these chords, we're skipping a note, adding a note, skipping a note, adding a note. That's our basic triad right there. This is your main minor chord in E minor. And then all we're doing is just creating variations of that exact chord. Instead of skipping one note here, I skip two notes. Instead of skipping one note here, I skip two notes here. It's all about just creating variations. And then here you'll see that I don't skip a note at all. I just go straight into the next note and then skip two notes to create this next one. Everything that I'm doing is relative to the scale. So when I say skip a note, I don't mean literally the next note. I mean the next note in the scale. So keep that in mind as well. And like I said, for harmonic minor, all we're doing is just dropping the root note down one step. And that's how I'm getting these harmonic minor tones. Do more chords exist? Of course. I already gave the example here with these lush dark chords. These are more complicated chords for sure. I also showed the example of combining major chords with harmonic minor. There's still more to explore, still more to learn, but when it just comes to making dark trap beats, 9 times out of 10, I'm just sticking with these dark minor chords. And then every once in a while, I might combine 1 or 2 harmonic minor chords in my chord progression. If you listen to trap music in general, they're usually just using your basic triads, minor triads, and basic harmonic minor triads. Really, you shouldn't be struggling to make something that sounds commercial, that sounds like what you typically listen to. So yeah, for this MIDI pack, I've included the link in the description down below. Just click that link and you'll get access to the MIDI pack. Let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comments down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.